It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. David Black, DDS, FICD, FACD. He owned his dental practice for over 30 years. He built a high level of productivity in his dental practice and was able to sell to a group practice, and the rest of his career as a dental practice owner is history. In 2015, Dr. Black decided to share his knowledge to help other dentists duplicate his level of success and started his own dental consulting company. His niche was treatment planning and case presentation. Dr. Black is currently an associate coach and consultant for Dental Practice Solutions, one of the leading consulting firms for nearly 20 years. By adding the perspective of a seasoned practitioner, Dr. Black adds to the proven hygiene profitability coaching that dental practice is well known for providing to dental practices on a global level. Dr. Black's expertise as an EQ and DISC trainer makes him the best person to help more patients to say yes to your patient care, as well as enjoy working together as a team and love what you do for your patients. 43 years of independent practice and group practice, purchased in 2011, retired from full-time practice in 2015. Well, your bio goes on and on forever and ever. I'll tell you why I invited you on the show, was because of your book that everyone's talking about on Dental Town, Dental EQ, how improving your emotional intelligence impacts your dental practice. I don't know if you wanted to start with your book, but do you mind if we start with your book?
That would be great. Yeah.
EQ. So I how many children do you have?
I have 2 children, 7 grandkids.
Yeah, I have 4 children, 5 grandkids, but I wrote a book, and I tell everybody that writing a book is like having a child. I mean, it takes 9 months in the oven, and then when it's born, you still got a lot of work to do with it. Talk about your journey. What made you decide you were going to have a 3rd child, and it was going to be the Dental EQ book?
My wife has arthritis in her knee, and she had to have a knee replacement. And she put me on notice that I was going to be her nurse until she fully recovered. And I had been reading all of the emotional intelligence books, and I just really got excited about it. And I read Sales EQ, and I thought to myself that really, if we could probably apply most every point that they make in emotional intelligence to dentistry. And so what I did with the book was I took what I learned in all these books. I must have read 6, 8 books on emotional intelligence. And I just started doing applications. I just started an outline and said, well, this applies to dentistry, and I can apply it here, I can apply it there, and then I just broke it down, and I spent that time outlining the book and starting it, and it's really become a passion of mine. I just really like how EQ, emotional intelligence, can be applied to everything we do in dentistry, leadership, and talking to our patients, talking to our team. Not dying of a heart attack after 20 years of doing this because we're under stress most of the time that we're doing it.
I have always believed that the most successful dental consultants in America and around the world are all kind of armchair psychologists. And if you're not going to be armchair psychologist, counselor, marriage counselor, I mean, because when I talk to dentists, you would think their most difficult stress would be, endo, oral surgery, something technical. And they always say it's the staff and the patients. I mean, I even know, how many dentists in 30 years that I met that thought the panacea was to quit dentistry and start a lab so they wouldn't have to deal with the patients. And what did they find out? They still had to have staff at their lab, and now their patients are now dentists. And I also believe that dentistry, it's tough because there's a bizarre natural selection on dentistry where you can't get into dental school, med school, or law school unless you got straight A's in undergrad. And those really weren't the well-rounded, moderate people. Don't you think dentists, physicians, and lawyers are kind of very different than their clientele?
I think, I know, I can remember I was one of the guys who didn't have the highest grades, and I got in. And I know that there was a couple guys in our class. I know this one guy in particular who used to sit on the front row, and he would always have his hand up in the air, and he was just really, really intelligent, had a high IQ, but he was dumber than a rock. And the funny thing is, I saw him at our 40th class reunion, and he was pretty much the same. He was just really introverted and set back, but he was really top of the class. So yes, I do believe that we're sort of pre-selected to not be real extroverts, and some of us somehow kind of slipped through. And I really feel like any success that I did have is really, I think, because I got along with people and I could talk to people.
Well, today is Dental Assistant Recognition Week. It's always the first full week of March. And my only post on it was thank you to all the amazing dental assistants. I hope you have a rocking hot, happy Dental Assistant Recognition Week. As Steve Jobs always said, it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. And when Dennis asks me, how do I do it? I actually do the least. My president, Lori's been there 20 years. My dental office manager, Don's been there 20 years. The original guy who wrote the first ounce of code on Dental Town, Ken Scott's still there. I mean, and that's the part where you talk about the 5 traits of a person with a high dental IQ are knowing yourself, managing your emotion, knowing others, managing your relationships, and commitment. Well, if you can't attract and retain people to stay with you for 2 decades, you're really not going to build a great company or have a great marriage. I mean, you can't stay married 20 years, unless, so go, will you mind going through the 5 traits of a person? Knowing yourself, managing your emotions, knowing others, managing relationships and commitment, and tell the dentist how this knowledge translates to patients trusting you and accepting treatment plan, your dental assistant staying with you for 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up one thing about having people stay with you. When I retired, I had when I sold my practice, I had 7 employees with a total of 140 years with me. So I really feel like my success was because I was able to keep these good people around. I had a chairside assistant who'd been with me 34 years. And when I sold, I loved the traits about her that I loved. And I actually told her, Connie, you probably ought to go find another job while I'm still here, because I don't think when the new corporate group comes in, you're going to be able to make a cut. And so she went ahead, and she's with another guy that's just about my age. And she's been with him another 5 years. So yes, I think keeping people is probably one of the attributes that I had. I was able to talk to the people. I made them feel appreciated, and they stayed with me. Back to EQ, know yourself. I think one of the things you have to know is what you like to do, what you don't like to do, what hits your hot buttons, what sets you off, what sort of situations do you want to avoid. And I think that knowing yourself, I think you need to be introspective. I think you need to take some time alone to be quiet, to shut up and just listen to what your body's telling yourself. I think that's what builds all of the EQ thing. The second thing is how to manage your emotions. Now that you know that I don't like to have a kid at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then you need to handle that. You need to know how to handle your emotions. And here again, it's the knowing what bothers you, how to avoid it, how to work around it, what is your workaround. And without knowing what you're thinking and what you're doing, you're not going to be able to do the rest of it. The third point is know others. And I think what you do is you realize that everybody's probably going to have the same range of emotions. They're going to have anger, fear, hate, love, joy. And what you need to do as far as knowing others is you need to understand that even though they may have the same emotions, they probably won't react to things the same way you do. And so handling that is how to do that, how to work that angle is you have to, here again, you have to figure out how to talk to people, how to approach them. Here again, this is where I sort of overlap with EQ, where, and with the DISC, where like I'm a driver, I'm a DI, which is I'm a driver influencer. I like to be liked. I like to get things done. But if most assistants are S's, they're steady. They don't want things to change. And if I go in and jump up and down and say, hey, we need to get this done today, and a lot of times what will happen is you will not get a good response. You need to learn in knowing others how to approach them in a way that they will respond, not necessarily out of your own style. Empathy is really the key word in knowing others. It's like you have to put yourself in their shoes. Sympathy is centered on yourself, where you're thinking, hey, I feel sorry for you. Empathy is where you can put yourself in their shoes and know how they are feeling about certain things. The fourth thing is how to manage it. Once you put all three of those together, it's you learn the situations that you're going to encounter every day. You try to manage how the people around you are going to react. You need to be able to, when you figure out that your patient is going to be irritated, you need to learn how to calm them down. And then commitment is one that's sort of come along later, but they're saying that people with high emotional intelligence will be successful because they do get committed to whatever they're doing, and they succeed that way.
When you talk about basic emotions like anger, disgust, fear, happiness, sadness, surprise, or the four pairs of opposite emotions, joy, sadness, anger, fear, trust, distrust, surprise, anticipation, what do you think what do you think is affecting dentists the most? Which emotion do you think they have the most trouble with?
I think there's a lot of anxiety because of the pressures put on a practice anymore to produce. And I am so relieved to not be in clinical dentistry anymore because of all the back office stuff, all the HIPAA, the OSHA, I'm now doing a little substitute work at a clinic where I just check hygiene. And, I take 10 minutes to check the patient and 15 minutes to write up the notes. You have to write everything up. And so I think that there's a lot of stress that goes on with the fear of HIPAA and OSHA and the government and getting all your records right. I don't know where that would fall in, if that's fear or anxiety or just stress in general.
Right. So what are you doing mostly now? Mostly you're working with Deborah Seidel-Bitke, who was the president and founder of Dental Practice Solutions in Oregon. We had her on the show, episode 125. Is that where you're mostly full-time now?
I have only been with Debbie just a short time. She discovered me through a mutual friend, and he was sort of talking me up. And I have been doing several things. I've been doing some consulting on my own, but I didn't have all the back office skills like what we're doing here today and all the booking stuff. And so I was struggling somewhat with that. I also have been speaking. I just spoke at Nova Southeast Dental School. I'm going to Rutgers here pretty soon, and then up to Michigan. So I'm doing some speaking on transitions. I had a pretty good story as far as when I decided to retire, that I had some things to overcome, like not making enough money and not saving enough money. And so the last 10 years of my practice, I got a consultant, and I learned from the consultant, and I ended up saving a whole lot more money and being able to build my practice up to where I made a lot more. And when I sold it, and then sold it, and then I worked for these guys for 4 years so that I could be comfortable. I also teach at a couple places, the residency program. I just finished up a stint with the Virginia Dental Association. I was on the board of directors for that. I was like a regional director for that too. So I'm running like crazy, running the tires off my car.
So Debbie Seidel-Bidke, RDHBS, is known as a top dental consultant, and like I say, we had her on the show back in 125. What do you do for her? Because I think of Debbie as building a productive hygiene department.
Well, she's added another doctor out of Atlanta, Peter Vanstrom, who does a lot of implants, and he's just come on board. And then I feel like I bring to the table the fact that I'm a dentist that has gone through a lot of these things, and I can see the other side. But for Debbie, I'm going to just help her to help the clients that she has to. I've had clients that I've helped schedule better, to do treatment planning better. So I'm going to bring that to the table, and we'll help the people be able to, and through the EQ and the DISC, I'm going to try to help them to be able to present better and to be able to get people to accept treatment better. So I just add an extra little thing to her very successful career. And I came on with her because of her reputation. I knew she had a really successful business and had been at it for 20 years, and she had all the back office support.
I've said so many times on this show, I don't even want to say anymore because people are probably getting sick of it, but the number one return on investment has always been a consultant. And then they'll always go out and buy a $135,000 Lanap laser, $150,000 CAD CAM, $100,000 CBCT. They basically double their dental school in debt with 3 purchases, and then they still don't know their return on equity, their return on assets. They sign up for all, the average dentist now is signed up for a dozen PPOs. So their fillings will get reimbursed anywhere from $150 for a posterior composite to $225. And I'll say, well, how much does it cost you to produce that filling? I mean, were you in the room for a half hour? What did it cost you? I mean, you're selling it for 12 different prices. What's your cost? They don't know what their costs are. They don't know what their labor is. They don't know any of that stuff. And what's really sad is when I find these kids with really strong work ethics, and they'll take that emergency through lunch, and they'll stay at the end of the day. They don't realize that in lunch, they stayed an hour to do an MOD composite for $130, and the total cost of that was $150. So they worked through lunch just to open up their wallet and take out a $20 bill and shred it, when they could have, gone and taken a nap. I mean, so how do you take someone who was born to fix surgery? They were born to fix teeth. I can remember when I saw, when I wanted to be a dentist, and that's what they want to do. They don't want to know their business. They don't want to know their numbers. They don't want to know any of this stuff. How do you be a leader and teach a kid that the business of dentistry is actually more important than the dentistry? Because if you drive your business into the ground, you're not going to do any dentistry.
It's really hard. I'm working with a couple young doctors now who are doing exactly what you said. They're buying all the bells and whistles, and they're trying to and working through lunch, working till 7 o'clock, and just beating themselves up. I know that I guess my biggest success was, as far as a client was, I went in and observed for 2 days, watched what they did, watched how they scheduled, and I had a very good last consulting firm that worked with me. And Debbie probably won't mind that I say it was Jameson. They really took me through the 25 systems, and I just so happened I wrote them down and remembered them. So I thought as a consultant I could use some of those. And I went in and observed how they were scheduling, and I made just a couple what I consider minor changes, and they increased their gross production. That's before their insurance. They increased their gross production by $500,000 in 12 months. Simple stuff, wasn't brain surgery, but I think that teaching people time management and how to use your assistants and how to, and like Debbie does, it's like you show them how to get their assistants productive and have them participate in the treatment planning it's really is where the money is. It's learning how to schedule, how to handle yourself, how to get your assistants and hygienists to do things that you shouldn't be doing.
Well, you know how when you said you didn't think Debbie would mind if you mentioned that you were with Jamie, Kathy Jameson, I should say Dr. Kathy Jameson. She has a PhD now. I'm so proud of her getting that. And her husband, John Jameson, is because people like Kathy Jameson, John Jameson, Debbie Seidel, they don't think in fear and scarcity. Like I have people come on and tell me all the time, they spend half their life competing with the guy across the street. Well, the guy across the street ain't competing with. He's competing with big screens and SUVs and vacations to Disneyland. I mean, none of those people think in fear and scarcity. Also, when you said Kathy Jameson, I immediately thought of her and her husband, John Jameson, a dentist. And then it made me also think of the other dynamic duo, Deborah Englehart Nash and Ross Nash. You and I were at the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentists annual meeting in Puerto Rico. And you, me, and Ross Nash had our picture taken, and we were the three amigos, and it was so hilarious because there was three dentists with these three big bald heads. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. I definitely remember that. That's the first time I met you, and I think that may be the only time I've really run into you. And it was fun. Ross is a good buddy and a lot of fun. I see him fairly often, and he's only 3 hours away at Charlotte. So I get down there occasionally. I've helped him, actually. I've worked at one of his continuums. I just went down and sort of chatted and helped him look over the shoulders of the dentists who were down there. So yes, we're good friends. And yes, I enjoyed the AACD meetings that I went to. It was a lot of fun. Well, it was nice to meet you.
When I look at the dentists my age that have been out 30 years that are collecting $2 to $5 million a year in a single location, they've had all the consultants. I mean, they have a different one every year. The number one practice I know that just crushes it on all cylinders. I don't want to say his name because it might get back to Jerome Smith in Lafayette, Louisiana, and maybe that's a bad thing. But I mean, every year he's going to try someone else. He says, I've never ever hired someone that if it costs $1, I didn't make $1.10 back. Number two, it makes your life easier and less stressful because they put in more systems and more things. And you tell dentists that, and they don't want to do it. I tell them that on dental implants. Sure, it costs more if you buy one from Noble Biocare or Straumann or BioHorizons or Dentsply's, Astra, or whatever. But if you don't have a human relationship with that implant company, you're never going to be a great implantologist. I mean, my dental implant rep, it's like 10-20% information and 80%, hey, we're all meeting at this bar Friday night, we're gonna watch this MMA game, and you're sitting there watching an MMA game, but you're sitting at a table with 5 guys who place 20 implants a week. I mean, so it's all the relationships. It's all that type of stuff. Thinking in hope, growth, and abundance, not fear and scarcity. Making relationships. I want to go back to your book though. One last thing. The one thing that is I wanted to bring on because of your book is the fact that when I go to the store and I buy, I'm a health food fanatic, so it'd be probably something like hot flaming Doritos and a bottle of Mountain Dew. But I know what the products are that I buy. I mean, I know why I bought an iPhone and not a Samsung. I know why I buy what I buy. But when I go to the doctor and he says you have 4 cavities, how do I have to trust you? And it seems like so many of these dentists are so challenged because, number one, if I tell David Black he has 4 cavities and he doesn't believe me, then I just feel shattered. It's like, oh my God, he didn't do it. I'm shattered. How do you get the dentist trained emotionally to not own the fact that you have 4? Like some dentists will say, well, I can't tell David he has 4 cavities and needs a deep cleaning and all that. I wouldn't want to go to a doctor that was sitting there saying, well, I can't tell Howard he has prostate cancer and lung cancers. How does this all affect in treatment plan presentation? Because I seriously believe if you don't understand treatment plan presentation, then you're limited to one tooth dentistry. The patient comes in, they point to this tooth, it needs a root canal and a crown. That's their insurance for the year. It's on and on and on. Then you walk across the street in the same city, the same zip code, the same country, and the dentist presents, well, you actually have 4 cavities and need a root canal and a crown. So how do you go from one tooth dentistry, and then after 4 or 5 years, some make it up to quadrant dentistry, and then at the very end of the game, probably only 5% of dentists just live in full mouth comprehensive dentistry. How do you walk them up that stairway?
I think the main thing is listening skills. Yeah, it's getting to know the person, interviewing them, finding out who they are first, and then you go step by step. And I think what you have to do is give them complete dentistry. I think you have to tell them everything, and then you get into, are they ready? But that takes listening. And I think a lot of times I think, and of course I was in a small city, and I couldn't be a full-time cosmetic dentist the whole time, so I did a lot of bread and butter stuff. But I think that what you have to do is identify everything they need and find out if they're ready and if they're able. If not, I think you need to do it stepwise, but always come back to it. And I think that you need to use your hygiene group, your hygienist, to show them, remind them. And I think that intraoral cameras are just a really important thing to actually show them what's going on. I think that you ought to have pictures of what's going on. When I finally quit, I thought I was catching on by the time I finally quit after 40-some years. But I would do an intraoral camera walk through the mouth with them, and I would show them everything, and then I would say, we can do this or this, we can do this or this, and here's the best. What do you want to do? And you have to ask them, or they're never going to do it. So I think that you have to create awareness, and I think that you need to show it to them. I think you need to show it to them correctly, and a lot of times you have to tell them multiple times.
You're also the territory manager on DM, a healthcare staffing platform that combines the flexibility of the gig economy with the benefits of traditional staffing, creating an on-demand professional labor force. Your mission is to bring benefits to amazing, hardworking dental professionals while at the same time helping dental practices achieve high-quality patient care. What is on DM?
Well, it's like Carpe Diem, only, but it's like in one day. What you can do is you can either post as a contractor, as a hygienist or an assistant, you put up your profile, And so you're on there. Like here again, this is fairly new. So I have less than 100 people in my territory that have their contact information up. On the other side, you have the offices who will create a profile and say, I need a temp or I need a full-time person, and they post that, and then they can actually interconnect. They can actually email each other, and they can tell what days they are available, and then of course it's really more economical than any of the other sites over the long run. Of course, we still run into the problem of the dentists want to post stuff for free, which this is not a free site. This is one of those things where you have to, if you hire someone, you have to pay a commission. We're also working on a W-2 platform, because in a lot of states, the 1099 is really creating a lot of problems for the hygienist. And so just recently, Undiam has created a W-2 platform where if you work so many shifts per month, you can actually get benefits. So it's just now developing. It's been launched for probably less than a year anyway. It's been, I think, I was in the beta test group. It started in July with it, and I think we launched. And that's
with Joe Fogg, a CEO of Undiam in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah. Yes. And it's in a
now, relationship. Is he related to Deborah, because she's in Oregon too?
No.
It's not her boyfriend or next door neighbor. They're both in Oregon though.
They're both in Portland, I think, or close to Portland.
Yeah. So you think that's so is it more to find, is Undiam more to find assistants and hygienists as a temp agency, or is it a place to find, so say I'm a dentist and I don't want to place implants anymore and I want to have a periodontist come in one day a month and place my implants. Is it for that too?
Theoretically. It hasn't really evolved into that yet. I've had a few doctors looking for jobs and posted on there, but I haven't seen any response yet to that. I think that as a part-time, some would try it for part-time, but it's more, quite frankly, it's mostly hygienists. I think second would be assistants, and because with assistants, I think there's a whole lot more that people don't want to hire a temp assistant like they would a temp hygienist. It's, they feel uncomfortable having an assistant come in and try to learn the system for a couple days.
Especially when you're spoiled. Like I had my first assistant lasted like a week short of 30 years, and my other one now is Christine. She's been like 20. And I always, it's a running joke in the office that if my assistant's going to call in sick, I want you to call me first. So I can call in sick to Dawn, because I cannot stand. I mean, you're so spoiled working with Jan or Christina or Yoni, and to all of a sudden say, oh yeah, you want to do this molar root canal with unknown. I mean, it's tough. You're also a territory manager of the Dental Peeps Network. What is the Dental Peeps Network? The founder was Lee Duke, founder and CEO of Dental Peeps, and Cassie Rose is the CEO of Dental Peeps. Talk about Dental Peeps.
There's 225,000 people on the Dental Peeps Facebook pages. They've broken it down to where each, I think there's 150 or more Dental Peeps subsidiaries. Like I'm on Roanoke Dental Peeps, and that in Virginia, that's kind of a wide territory. Roanoke, we go all the way from Bristol, Tennessee to almost to Charlottesville, Virginia. It's about my territory is about 200 miles wide. We have a little over 1,500 people who have gone on the Facebook page. We put up informational stuff. We put up, we have a hygiene study club. We can post events on there. It's a social network. We also boost, because there's a relationship between Dental Peeps Network and On Diem, to where we boost people who are looking for jobs on Dental Peeps Network. If they've listed on Diem, then we can actually boost them over onto the Dental Peeps Network page. Like in Virginia, there's Richmond and DC, Northern Virginia, Tidewater, and then Roanoke. And so there's 4 different Dental Peeps Facebook pages in Virginia.
Wow.
It's the biggest dental group, maybe short of yours, in the United States, because, like I said, I think there's probably more than 225,000 people that have signed up.
So why should someone join Dental Peeps Network?
Several reasons. One is just a social thing. We're sort of isolated from time to time, but the second thing is that because of the connection with On Diem, is because you can, if you're looking for a job, you can boost it to the Facebook page and get more coverage that way.
So,
and you can actually
do you know the founder Lee Duke and the CEO Cassie Rose?
I don't know Cassie. I know Lee. I was supposed to have dinner with him when I was in Fort Lauderdale. He's down I think he's in Palm Springs, West Palm Beach, or somewhere like that down there. But I've spoken to him several times. As an early beta group, there was only like 10 of us that started out the On Diem part, and so we had conference calls probably once a week for a long time, just to try to get the thing up and running.
That is
so, yeah.
So, what do you say to the baby boomer who comes out of school? Now the schools are all up to $100,000 a year tuition, because every time the dental schools raise their tuition $10,000 a year, it has no elastic effect on the demand. There's just people, I couldn't believe it. I can't believe how many dental schools charge over $100,000 a year, but they're coming out $400,000 in student loans. They're saying, David Black, come on, Howard Farran, Ross Nash, you guys graduated 3 decades ago in the golden years of dentistry. You guys didn't have all the big student loans. Do you think, and a lot of them wonder if they even made a good decision. If someone comes out of dental school, $400,000 in student loans, are you more of the camp thinking that was a really bad idea? Or do you think it still is a good idea, and that they're going to find value for their 8 years and $400,000 student loans being a doctor of dental surgery in America at age 25?
Yes, I think it's, if I had to do it over again, I would. I think because it's been, on so many levels, it's been such a good life. I know everybody has problems. Of course, we had 16% interest under Jimmy Carter when we got out. So, and it was hard to even borrow money back then. But yeah, these guys are starting, I don't know, $150,000, $180,000 a year. A lot of, I don't know if they have the same demographic that was with us, where we were the first in the family to graduate from college. Obviously I was one of 4, and I was the second. Well, I was the second child of 4, and I was the first one to graduate college. And I think that the capability to make $300,000-$400,000 a year is within reach. And I think what they need more than anything is to learn how to manage their money, and how to not buy some of the things I bought, the Waterlays and and all those sorts of, and the CAD cam that I bought, toward the end of my practice.
Okay, now do you think, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. Are you saying you're glad you bought the Waterlays and the CAD cam, or do you think it was too much money and not a return on investment?
I think it was too much money and not a good return on investment. I could do a crown prep in 40 minutes, and here I was dragging out 2 hours using my CAD cam. It was a nice, it was nice. If I'd have had better skills in marketing myself, the CAD cam would have been a wonderful thing, because I could have gotten, advertised the, do it in a day, to get it quick, get it in, no temporaries, that sort of thing. I love my water lathe. It was an extravagance, but I loved what it could do. And now I'm not talking about cutting hard tissue. I'm talking about doing the surgical stuff, and actually I did a lot of crown lengthening on crown preps, where I could do that and not send them off to get a flap surgery and heal up for 2 weeks. I could use that, and I think I got good margins. And so water lathes to me was good. It was, I paid too much for it, but
what did you spend on it?
I'm sorry?
What did you spend on it?
I think it was $72,000.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gosh, and then whenever they start talking about their lasers, are like, oh, they're good for frenectomies. Like, frenectomies, I got homies listening to the show that didn't do a frenectomy this year, and it's already March. Yeah, I don't understand it with dentists. So.
I did too.
I mean, I can give you a 15 blade for $1, and you can do a frenectomy with it, and then throw the blade away. You don't even have to sterilize; just throw the damn thing away. I mean, I can take an Emperor gum impression for $17, send it down the street to my lab, who's had the lab the whole 30 years I've had in my dental office, and make me a zirconium crown for $100. Technology, yeah, I think the oral scanners is great. Because what I liked about the oral scanning is, especially now that I'm 56 and half blind, is, you scan that prep and you see it 40 times bigger on the screen. Well, I've never seen my prep 40 times larger where I didn't immediately go back in there and try to salvage my self-esteem and clean it up, to some degree. But yeah, they love spending big money. In fact, I tell everybody, if you want to make millions of dollars in dentistry, just build a machine that costs $100,000 with a bunch of blinking lights on it and shiny objects, and maybe have it look like R2D2, and maybe all it will do is hold the suction, but you can guarantee 5,000 dentists will spend $50,000 on it. What technology do you recommend to have a dental office that's more faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, and more profitable?
I've sort of stepped back one step from that, but I think that the scanners are getting down to where they're a whole lot more affordable. And also, there's some new lasers that I'm not exactly sure which ones they are, but I think that rather than using an electrosurge, that getting one of those low cost, maybe the CO2 a CO2 laser, to do some of the stuff with your crown bridge would probably be, and doing some perio with it too, would be, I think that would be plenty.
There's so many software companies. First of all, the big question they have is, what practice management software do you recommend? I mean, Henry Schein owns Dentrix, Patterson owns EagleSoft. You have so many different systems. I use Open Dental. What do you? And by the way, that's in Oregon, where Deborah is from. I don't know if that makes you partial to Open Dental or what. But what practice management software do you recommend?
I started out with SoftDent. I thought it was sort of an awkward platform. The last few years I used EagleSoft. I liked it quite a bit. Dentrix I never really got into, and now I'm working this part-time job with Open Dental, and I still like SoftDent the best.
You said you're working part-time with Open Dental?
I still like EagleSoft the best. I'm sorry.
Okay, EagleSoft. Now, do you know, does Debbie Seidel-Bitke, the founder and president of Dental Practice Solutions, she's in Oregon. Does she ever go visit Open Dental, who's in Oregon also?
I'm not sure. I mean, here again, I've only been in business working for her for less than a month, so I've just now switched over from my own pinpoint dental consulting to to dental practice solutions.
Well, tell her I asked you that because the reason I switched to Open Dental is just simply because of the name. It's open. It's Open Dental, and I've got 5 programmers that built Dental Town and Hygiene Town and Ortho Town. And what I like about Open Dental is it's open, so we can write code to it. There's also a lot of dashboards now. I mean, if you go around Dentrix in Provo, Utah, there's so many dental software companies that popped up from around there. Do you recommend any other dental software dashboards or any of those types of technologies?
I've looked over Solution Reach, and I like it. I've also at some of I belong to Speakers Consulting Network and ADMC, so I've run into Alex Dudell with Revenue Well too. So but I think I tend to like Solution Reach a little better. I just think that I've also worked with Weave some, which is out there in the same area with their phone systems. And I'm trying to figure out, instead of having 2 or 3 things that overlap, I'm trying to figure out if someone will come out with one particular platform that will pretty much do it all. And I think Solution Reach is as close to any of them. I think that they've now brought in a thing that takes over some of the things that the Weave company had been doing, to where they'll do the phone calls and follow up on that. Anything else? No, I can't think of anything right now, Harry.
But you think of the Silicon Valley. Everybody thinks of Silicon Valley, Google and Facebook and Uber and all these companies. But for dentistry, Silicon Valley is really Utah, which they call Silicon Slopes. I mean, look at this. This is Utah. American Sleep Dentistry, Angie's Dental Supply, Arrowhead Dental Lab, B&D Dental, Boom Cloud Dental Membership Software, CAO Group, Cottonwood Orthodontic Labs, Curve Dental, Dental ATM, Dental Intel, Dental Marketing, Gordon Christian, Henry Schein's Dentrix, Jive Communications, My Social Practice, Ortec, Ortho Select, Pioneer Lasers, Podium, Decision Dental Products, Prosper Healthcare. I mean, my God, you can't, Ultradent, Wave Ortho, Weave, Whitecap Institute. I mean, first of all, if you're in Phoenix, Arizona, you got to go to Salt Lake City, do not fly in an airplane at 35,000 feet because you're going to miss the most beautiful part of the entire planet, driving up through Sedona, around the Grand Canyon, Bryce. I mean, my God, talk about the most unbelievable drive you'll ever have. But once you get to Salt Lake City, on the drive from Salt Lake to Provo, I mean, you could, if you just roll down the window and threw an apple, it hit a dental company. Why do you think it's like that?
Gordon Christensen, probably.
You think he was the forefather of all that?
Yeah, I think so. And the research that his wife did, and the fact that they brought great minds into there and educated people out of there. And I guess that they were just attracted to some of the, sort of same reason that Silicon Valley's where it is. It's just a couple got there, and then the rest of them wanted to be me too.
There's also, Utah has an incredible work ethic. I mean, when I go to see those dental companies, I mean, it seems like their whole team does like Monday through Friday, they'll do like 10-hour days. And then on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, they catch up on all their emails. I mean, the work ethic there is pretty intense.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
I know even in Virginia, we admit usually, I think, between 8 and 10 students from Utah, and I've worked with them in some of the clinics. I've been a preceptor to some in some clinics, and these kids are hard-working people too. So I think if the kids that are coming to dental school are any example of what their parents and all the rest of the people out there are like. It's really, they're really hardworking.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about that I was not smart enough to bring up?
Well, the only thing is, if you'll go to our website, dentalpracticesolutions.com, we have a lot of free resources there that people can go to and click on. And, I have my my ebook on transitions and, what to do when you first get out of dental school and that sort of. And Debbie has a lot of things as far as hygiene production there too. So there's a lot of resources there that people can get for free.
Well, you didn't actually cover transitions, so talk about transitions.
Well, I have a couple. Presentations I do on different variations off that, but of course I do think I have a nephew who's in oral surgery school, so I've gone up to the dental school at West Virginia University where I graduated, and I gave a free talk on, what are you going to do when you graduate, and I gave them an outline of the people you need to contact and the licenses you need to get and that sort of thing. But the main transition that I talk about is my transition. It was when I decided at 55 that I was in trouble, that I was going to have to work forever. And so that's when I went out and got my consultant, and they helped me to get my systems in order. I increased in 1 year my production by 30%. I kept it that way, and we my wife and I saved most of that money. We put it in our retirement plan, and then I was able to build up the worth of my practice to where it was worth 30% more. I sold it, I worked for them, and then I retired. And so that transition is the one that I know that, I lived firsthand. And so I have and so I can speak to that as far as the guys like me. I'm 72 now.
Are you really?
Yeah.
You look awesome, buddy.
Dentistry's easy, man. You know that. But it's, and so I've been able to retire, but I'd like to go back and do all this other stuff. The reason I'm doing this other stuff is because I want to, not because I have to. And I think that teaching these guys that come from small cities like me that don't do full mouth rehab every week and can make it. They can actually make it. And I think that's really the strongest story that I have that I can share with the people out there. And I like to speak about that. And I'm actually going to go to Michigan, I guess in September. I'm going to go up to Upper Peninsula and speak to their society about transitions. They said in Michigan they're actually trying to help their boomers that are struggling to come to grips with the fact that they're going to have to get their butt in gear or they're going to have to work forever.
That's the funny thing about America is I'm down here in Phoenix where, today it's 70 degrees and it's a blizzard in New York. So if you're east of the Mississippi River, you retire to Florida. If you're west of the Mississippi, you come to Phoenix. So Phoenix, believe it or not, 10% of the homes are owned by Canadians. And then when you said Michigan, Michigan, North and South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas. But it's so funny, my patients from Michigan, because you just said Upper Michigan. There's no such thing as, when you say, oh, are you from Michigan? If they're from Detroit, they'll say, yeah. But if they're from Upper Michigan, they'll say, no, I'm from Upper Michigan. And it's like, It's so hilarious. Are you from Michigan? No, I'm from Upper Michigan. Oh, excuse me. But they really like to define themselves that they're not Michigan. And they're Upper Michigan. But I just want to end on this. I mean, you guys, you jump at all those shiny objects, but if you go to dentalpracticesolutions.com, look what the different products have. Purpose-driven production, crack the cancellation code, treating the gingivitis patient, a paradigm shift, hygiene department video training and ebooks, 45-day online dental hygiene department training and care books, propel your practice in 30 days, 6-month dental hygiene training program, program, in-office comprehensive consulting, dental hygiene department consulting, one-on-one coaching. I mean, and then I want you to ask yourself this at the end of the day, and we'll see who knows what's going on more. At the end of the day, I want you to say goodbye to your hygienist at the end of the day. And as she's leaving, sit there and say, wow, she was busy today. She had 8 patients today. She worked 8 to 5, had an hour lunch, saw 8 patients. And I'll say, hey, buddy, did that hygiene department that day, did you make $127 after taxes? Or did you lose $48 and don't even know it? And if you can't tell me the answer to that, then I know where you're headed on Friday. You're headed to a bone grafting seminar. You're headed towards, and I love that. I mean, I want to be worked on by dentists who would rather go to a bone grafting seminar than go watch some Netflix baloney all weekend long. I love dentists. They all got a lot of college. They're all smart. I do. I love my homies. But as a leader, I have to tell them, if I walk in your office and you can't even tell me what we have to do to break even for the day before we all go home. I mean, what's the break-even point? My dad called it the BAM, bare ass minimum. My MBA instructor said we shouldn't use bare ass minimum and use break-even point. And so, you know, if you can't tell me your break-even point, and on the way home you can't tell me how much money you made or lost, then you need to be focused on the business. And what's so amazing with consultants is they bring down they make you more money while they bring down the stress. So, I mean, and the other thing consultants do is they can walk in your office and find out, oh my God, why is this toxic person working there? And then I know what the dentist's going to tell me. Oh, I could never practice without her. Oh, yeah, she's just Attila the Hun. She's the only person who scared Genghis Khan all the way back to Mongolia, and she's been your assistant for 7 years. So just get your house in order. Then if you get your house in order, you're going to make more money, you're going to be less stressed, and then you can buy all those toys. You can decide, do I want to buy a Porsche or a laser? Do I want to buy a cabin or a CAD cam? I don't care. I know boys love toys, but get your house in order. And I want to thank you, David Black, for coming on the show today and talking to my homies for an hour in the hopes that they'll get their house in order too.
I want to thank you for allowing me to come on board. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, you know I'll never turn down one of my bald brothers to come on my show. If you're bald and a dentist, if you look like Ross Nash, David Black, or Howard Farran, you have an open invite to my show. Thanks, David, for coming on. I hope you have a rocking good day.